Well, Coach Torres, welcome to our Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. We at Behind the Whistle like to celebrate people all the time, all the work that you do as a coach. We are excited to learn more about you, and we're excited to recognize the work that you're currently doing. So if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where are you coaching at? Where have you been?
Got it. So this is my 16th year coaching, 12th as a head coach. I'm born and raised from El Paso, Texas, where I went to high school there and college at the University of Texas at El Paso. I'm currently my first year here in Marlin, Texas, as the assistant athletic director and head football coach. And so prior to that, all my coaching experience has been in El Paso, where I worked my way up from a junior high girls, 7th grade and 8th grade track coach to freshman football coach. And then just been really lucky to kind of climb the ladder relatively quickly. I was a coordinator after my 3rd year. Then I got my first head job at Ysleta High School, turned that around. Then I became a 6A head coach. And now I'm out here in Marlin, Texas, and Central Texas. Different world, different atmosphere, but at the end of the day, I think it's a people business, and the game of football is probably the simplest game out there. So, different faces. That's all it is.
So, Coach, you made some good points in terms of your career, because you started at the middle school, junior high, and then worked your way up. And I know it takes some time. It takes some time to move and progress in the profession, especially on the male side of things. So I think that your story is one that needs to be told and needs to be heard by a lot of people, especially our young coaches who may become discouraged with this notion or idea of paying dues and having to work their way into this position like yourself. Now, moving from a 6A position to Marlin is what classification right now?
2A.
So moving from a 6A to a 2A, what does that feel like? How's that transition been?
Outside of the numbers, it's the same. I think people, for whatever reasons, have made a little too much, or they make a little too much out of 2A, 6A. I mean, I could tell you right now that currently here at Marlin, I've got the greatest concentration of talent that I've ever had the opportunity to coach. I have just as many Division I players that have committed or been offered as I did when I was at 6A. So outside of the numbers for depth, when you're talking about freshman team, JV, developmental team, that's the difference. But we're carrying about 40 kids right now on varsity, which is a considerably larger amount than what they had the previous year. So I think we're making strides in the right place. But to go back to your other point of paying your dues and learning how to coach, I think when you really learn how to coach and you get the people part down correctly, you can have positive growth in a relatively short amount of time. But that doesn't happen without going through the steps of experience, and then being blessed to have leadership, to work under leadership, whether it's, your head coach, your principal, your athletic director, teacher of the year, HR directors. I mean, I've had so many people with different titles help guide my career that I've learned from, and I still use to this day the bits of information that they blessed me with. So that's key. And like you said, it goes, this whole notion of self-gratification instantly. You're not going to last long in this business, and you're definitely not going to do right by kids. At least that's my belief.
Now, Coach, who or what inspired you to get into this profession? Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get the last part.
So who or what inspired you to enter the coaching profession?
So, when I graduated college, I went into pharmaceutical sales. That's what I wanted to do. And we're coming out of the post 9/11. Job market totally changed, and so I did a little bit of marketing work for an asthma and allergy research company, and then I decided that I was going to go overseas and work for the government as a government contractor. I had no kids, I wasn't married, so I didn't really have anything holding me back, and I kind of just said, all right, either I'm going overseas, this pharmaceutical job is going to call, or I'm going to go to the Air Force. And overseas called first. So I did that for 17 months, and I came back home, and I saw my brother coaching, my younger brother. And what I didn't realize is when I was here home on vacation, well, everybody else is working. So I would just pop up at the high school and watch him coach. And as hard as he worked, it was amazing to me to see how happy he was, win or lose. So when I decided not to return to Iraq, my old defensive coordinator said, you really need to get into coaching and teaching. You'd be great at it. And I wasn't, it really didn't appeal to me. So I was sitting at home. Again, everybody's at work. I got bored. I said, well, I'll go teach math until, these other avenues pop up. So I apply for a math job. I get it. Second day at work, assistant principal asked me, hey, we need some help. We need a seventh grade girls basketball coach. It's a little extra money. I said, okay, why not? The one thing I did know going in is you never say no at first. You got to, you got to earn your stripes. So committees and coaching, okay. And I tell you what, that group, that seventh grade girls basketball group, to this day is my favorite team I've ever coached. Just their willingness to do anything and everything. And I tell players now, girls are way tougher than you. They're more coachable. They're going to do things right. They're going to make an effort to do it right. And if there was girls football, I'd probably coach that, and I tease them about it. But that group of girls is what really, changed my outlook on coaching and teaching and education, and just seeing the little successes, they can make a layup now, they can run a play, and then me learning with them. I'd never coached anything in my life, so we were kind of all in it together. And so at the end of my first year, I got called for a freshman football job in another district, and I took it. But had it not been, one, for me being bored at home alone and being encouraged, and then somebody taking a chance on me to teach math and entrust me with these little girls to coach seventh grade and teach them basketball, I probably wouldn't be coaching. But that really did, I just fell in love with it right then and there. And then, and of course, I had already applied for other jobs outside of teaching, and I just didn't even, see those through or go to the interviews. I decided that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And the reward and the impact that you see that you have when you're genuinely in it for kids, there is no dollar amount you can put on that. And as cliche as that sounds, I can tell you that there's not a day that I wake up and I'm not excited to come to work, regardless of how I feel or what happened the day before. Every day I've been excited to come to work and coach.
That's awesome. I think it's always cool that middle school age is always fun to watch, because you actually get to see your work come to fruition. And I think it's until people are able, and as a young coach, sometimes you think, well, man, I'm working this hard and I don't see the kids improving. And then you get a little bit older and you say, you know what, I want to coach those 12-year-olds or those
Yeah.
13-year-olds because they think you're the world's greatest coach, because oftentimes you're their first coach in whatever sport that they're coaching. So I think that's really, really telling. Now, throughout your profession, what kinds of obstacles or challenges have you faced within the coaching profession, whether that be through, you know, through promotion or lack thereof or opportunities? What are some of those obstacles that you faced?
Um, now I guess I'll work back or from the front forward. I think that when I first got into coaching, uh, it was right from the beginning. The coach that hired me asked me, "Well, what position do you want to coach?" And I said, "Well, I want to coach quarterbacks." And he said, I mean, he gave me the option, and I understand why he said no, but he gave me the option. But he said, "No, you're too young. You're too young. You never coached. You can't coach quarterbacks. That's too important of a position." But that motivated me. And my second year, I got moved over to quarterbacks. And then, we weren't a very successful program. So I think the best we had done in the 6 years, we were 4-6. And we did underachieve in my opinion. And so when that head coach decided to resign, and I applied for the job, and this was a great lesson that I learned, because I applied for the job because I was very confident in my abilities, but I knew that my resume didn't say winner. And when I went through the interview process, the associate superintendent and the principal that took a chance on me really, they saw something in me that I don't think I saw in myself. And I had a huge support system. And my greatest mentor and has become one of my best friends is Jesse Perales, the head coach at Naaman Forest. And we're from the same city. And so fast forwarding now, as you know, El Paso is a predominantly Hispanic town, military. So for us growing up, we didn't see black and white, Samoan, Polynesian, Indian. I mean, everybody was just, we were just kids. We all went to school together. That's the unique thing about El Paso. But coming out east, there is a big block on being Hispanic. There is they look at you different. Can you coach football? And you hear the jokes and all of that. And so that comes with the territory without a doubt. But I think there's a greater pressure, and Hispanic coaches like myself, Coach Perales, and some of the other coaches that have just recently received head jobs out here. I think we have a great opportunity, and there's a great pressure to show that we can coach just as good as the white guy, as the black guy, as the Polynesian. And yes, that's no secret. There's not a lot of Hispanics in the NFL, but I saw an interview with Will Hernandez, the offensive lineman for the New York Giants, who went to school in El Paso, and he talked about. As a matter of fact, I just saw this yesterday. He talked a lot about the pride and the responsibility that he feels to the Hispanic culture and community. And I know that a lot of us coaches share that same sentiment as we've gained these opportunities and worked for them. And, we now have the Texas High School Hispanic Coaches Association, which is doing great things. And it's not exclusive to just Hispanics, but without a doubt, we have a lot to prove out there. And for those of us that get the opportunity as Hispanic head coaches and athletic directors, it's something that we can't take lightly, because we have an opportunity to open doors and pave the way for other Hispanic coaches, male and female.
I think you made some excellent points in that. There, you are correct. There are very few I don't know if you saw the article recently, but there are about 1% at the FCS level of Hispanic or Latino coaches. So even, we have our token, right? Our token in the NFL, which is Ron Rivera. We have, just recently the Hall of Fame induction ceremony that we just had this past year. That was the first one. I don't know if it's ever or in a long time. So it is a heavy weight to carry. And I think that for a long time, because I did some work with Black coaches specifically, they felt that pressure as well. And they continue to feel that, but to express that the weight of the community is on your shoulders, that is heavy. That is heavy. And as a leader, a Latino leader in this profession, you said it correct. It is your responsibility to help bring others up, because we are the majority. When we look at the students across the state of Texas, we are the majority. And, being in El Paso, I know you can relate, being in the Valley, coaching in the Valley, hearing those things like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. This is the Valley week when we get to San Antonio or to a certain round in the playoffs. And quite frankly, we don't really hear about El Paso because it's a whole nother world,
right,
in the grand scheme of the state. But it's important. It's important that now more than ever, and I know the Texas Hispanic Coaches Association is doing some phenomenal work with celebrating and recognizing the coaches every week. So that's awesome to see. But what other words of wisdom can you give your fellow Latino coaches or the young Latinos that are looking to enter this profession that may feel discouraged because they don't see enough people that look like them?
I think the first thing is they've got to gravitate around, successful people and winners and listen. I think one of the greatest skills I have and learned, and I think my parents did a great job. I know my grandmother sometimes probably beat it into me, was listen. Listen and don't talk so much. And, that's huge, because none of us are here because of we're just that good. Uh, every single one of us that has achieved some sort of job title status and success, it's because we have a group of people and a support system and a professional, colleagues that we can go to and learn from, and are going to tell us the honest truth. And I know they don't want to hear it, but you got to work hard. This job, this profession isn't just during football season. It's not just show up to practice with your whistle and your nice Nike hat and your cool clothes and shoes and coach, and then when practice is done, you can leave. And I know in some states it is like that, but in the state of Texas, it's not. And I think they need to realize that it's going to be hard. I think it takes 2 to 3 years for you to truly adjust to the amount of time and effort that it's going to take for you to be successful. And, I share this story with guys all the time. My goals when I finally decided this is what I wanted to do. And I shared with you how I got shot down to be the quarterback coach my first year. But my goal was to, within 10 years, be a quarterback coach. And then I thought, okay, after 10 years, maybe the last 10 years of my career, I'll be a coordinator. And that's as far as I could see. But I focused on the job I had at hand. And one of the things I tell guys, and so the process really took a turn and things got accelerated, but I believe that's because of the hard work I did. I was selfless. I was a team player. I wanted to learn. I invested in my career. I didn't expect the school to pay for every clinic. And that's a big thing, is you've got to invest in your own career, in your own personal growth, not just as a coach, but as a professional, as a leader. And then the second thing is do the best job with the job you have right now. you can't look, what job am I going to have next year? Because that job's not going to come. And you're cutting yourself, you're cutting your colleagues, you're cutting kids, more importantly, and you're cutting the administrators that took a chance on you short. There's thousands of people looking for teaching jobs. And so that's important is to do the absolute best job you have with the job you have right now. And it's something I share with our assistant coaches. When you're coaching running backs or you're coaching the defensive line, whatever your position is, be the head coach of that position and understand that that group represents you. If I want to know how good of a coach you are, I'm not going to sit down and talk with you. I'm going to look at the kids you coach. And some people that they're afraid to hold themselves accountable, but you can't be a leader and you won't be successful if it starts with you holding yourself accountable. So that's what I like to tell our young coaches, and especially our Hispanic coaches. No one's going to give you anything, and we hear that all the time, but it's the truth. And you have to go above and beyond, and you have to be that much better. You have to be that much better than the next guy if you want a fair chance. And if you're afraid of that, if you want to turn the other cheek and not accept that's where we're at right now, then you won't be successful. But you've got to take it head on and make sure that you've done everything that you can to prepare yourself for that opportunity. Because when that opportunity comes, that's your first impression. And that, I tell guys too, and I'm sure you've dealt with this and done it and seen it. When people are interviewing you, you may not get the job, but they're going to talk about you. And hey, you know what? This guy didn't get the job, but man, he was really good. Or he was number 2. And he was just missing a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Or they could say, wow, that guy was terrible. So disappointing. So you have an opportunity every time, whether you get the prize or you don't, you're still building yourself up and showing the product of you. And that's important.
Most definitely. And you never know who's in that interview that is going to leave and be somewhere else and remember who you are, and then say, you know what, there was this guy or this young woman that I interviewed that I think would be great here. Because sometimes it's just not the right fit. It's
Right.
and that's something that while it may hurt because I didn't get that job, they may have seen something that said, you know what, this is probably not a good fit for our school. They're going to fit somewhere else. And they find a way to help you get to that next position.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I can't tell you, I've had numerous job offers from principals, from other ADs, not because they'd ever seen me interview, but even just how I conduct myself on the field. That somebody's always watching, and so I tell parents and teachers that don't understand athletics as well, but my grade, I get my report card Saturday morning, every Saturday morning after a football game, for everyone to see my grades. And it is what it is. It's tough. And because people are watching you out there and how you conduct yourself, and that comes with it. But you have to know that going in, and to me, it's no different than a teacher going into a classroom. Is when a principal walks in or a central office personnel walks in to observe your class, that's that's your resume. That's who you are. And so they may say they're not watching you, but they're watching you. How do you dress? How do you conduct yourself? And branding and image is more important now than it ever has been. And I work for a fabulous superintendent who really hits those things home. And just in this short time that I've been here, it's totally changed how I conduct myself. I mean, right now I'm in a t-shirt, but On the norm, I come to school with either in a suit, a sports coat, and modeling to our kids that, when you dress professionally, people take you serious. If you're in, gym shorts and a baggy t-shirt or torn jeans, they're not going to take you so serious. And that goes for the adults too. I mean, I think we see that with a lot of adults in our profession that I remember when I went to school, teachers were always dressed professionally. And as I've been going through the profession, I've started to see, now I sound like the old guy, but now I'm starting to see this trend where it's okay to wear slides to work. It's okay to, wear fashionable jeans, not nice jeans. And so you start seeing this in some schools, and not here at Marlin, but in other places I've been. Then you wonder why the kids don't respect you. And you wonder why the teachers look at you a little different, the parents. So like you said, in coaching, there's a lot of lessons that we can teach just by showing and demonstrating.
I think you what you said about the attire is something that I guess I observed at coaching school this summer. I hadn't been to coaching school in a couple of years, and I remember going with my dad back in the early 2000s, and you normally see the coaches walking together, and they're all dressed. You would hardly see anyone in shorts. You wouldn't see anyone in sandals or slides. And those that are dressed like that, you could tell they were out of place.
Correct.
But when I went this summer and I started to look around, and I'm thinking, when did this shift? When did this shift take place? We constantly complain about not being taken seriously in this profession. But when we come to a professional setting, we don't dress the part. So why would anyone take us seriously?
Yeah. That's a great point.
And there, because we walk through the exhibit hall, and all of those people in the exhibit hall, those are business owners. Why wouldn't we want to show off our profession as the top and one of the most respected professions? When we have the platform to impact lives well beyond the field, the court that we are coaching on. So I think it's telling that you just said that, and showing up in a blazer as the head football coach, that says something, because when you move into the college ranks, those ADs, those assistant ADs, those head coaches, that's what they're wearing. Mm-hmm. And our young men and women have to start, and some of them just remember, like, this is us being professional, and it's okay. And it may be uncomfortable for a little bit, but it's a short period of time that you're going to be uncomfortable. Correct. So another question, Coach, is for you. What does it mean to be a Latino leader in this coaching profession? Did you catch that one?
What does it mean for me to be a Latino?
A Latino leader in this profession.
It's something that I can, to be 100% honest, when I was in El Paso, I think I took that for granted quite a bit. And then when I got to that 6A, started to show itself a little bit more. But I could tell you that just going through the interview process for the Marlin job, my sense of pride in being a Latino and Hispanic this is the highest it's ever been in my life. And even to the point where when I first got out here, my emotions ran so high. There was days when, you're doing the job and you're getting recognized, and you do, I got tears in my eyes, because I was proud of what the small part that I was doing for my heritage and for my race. And I told people, even in my interview, I said, I'm not going to apologize for where I was born and what the color of my skin is. I can't change that, and I wouldn't change it. I'm very proud of who I am. And I don't think I've ever said that until I got put in a position where I felt the need to stand up for Hispanics and say, well, I'm here and I'm in your face too. And I got a lot to prove, and I think I could do the job better than anybody else. And so that whole term, what does it mean, the pride, it's still right now, as I've been out here, um, I'm speechless. I can't describe it because it's very, very, in El Paso, you're kind of sheltered. You don't really know because everybody's the same. And you get out here, and I think one of the things that I also realized when I put my guard down was that, it's not a racist thing, it's an unfamiliar thing. It's an unknown thing. And so um that allowed me to open up myself. And I saw a video. They were interviewing one of our kids, um and he had a short clip, and they asked him a question about me. And I was sitting at home late watching it, and his comment was, as soon as he got here and we got to know him, we knew he loved us and he's just like one of us. And I don't know if the player really knew the depth of what that statement meant to me, but I was sitting there on the couch and I watched that, and I did get teary-eyed. Because at the end of the day, this is about those players. And for just such a short amount of time, for me to earn their trust and for them to buy into, I mean, let's face it, here in Marlin, there's not a lot of Hispanics at all, especially not in the leadership position. And I credit our superintendent and our cabinet for having a vision to bring in a Hispanic director of HR, which is the first one, to bring in a Hispanic head football coach, assistant athletic director, first one, and that was very bold of them. And so I'm very blessed and lucky to work with people that have vision the way they do. So and I will tell you this, that at coach's school, I was walking around a little bit taller, chest out a little bit more. When I went to the Leadership Academy in Arlington, same thing. When I'm flying back and forth or traveling anywhere, I'm very proud to be a Marlin Bulldog, but I'm very proud to be the Hispanic head coach of the Marlin Bulldogs. And so, again, it's just a much, I'm 41 years old, and I can tell you that I've never had the amount of pride and compassion and just energy to be a Hispanic leader, and understanding what that means and what that can lead to for other people in our community.
I think you said it right. Living in El Paso or living in the Valley, we may have taken that for granted because a lot of people look like us. And it wasn't until, like you said, when I left, I didn't realize that not every place was like that. And there were too many times where I sat as the only one and not understanding how to deal with that. That wasn't anything that I had been taught. So I think you have a unique opportunity to teach those young men and women and students in that school what that means and what that's going to look like as they move into the world outside of Marlin, because things are going to be different,
right,
when they leave that community. So one last question, Coach. This can be related to your family. This can be related to the school or your program. What is your favorite tradition that you bring to the table that recognizes, the Hispanic heritage?
Oh, wow. I read the questions. I thought about that one a lot. I would say my favorite tradition for me personally growing up was Christmas time, the posadas. I love, the posadas, and I think now what I can take from those to any situation is, just the music, the food, the laughter, the positivity. And so, in the Latino and Hispanic culture, family is so close, but family extends to your neighbors. It extends to uh, your workers that you become, your colleagues at work. So I know here and every program I've been at, uh, you try to build that family atmosphere, but it's not about putting family on a t-shirt, or it's not a chant that we are family. It is, we're going to eat together. So for us in pregame, um, we have a group that comes in and caters, and we all eat together. We pray together. We talk about family, and so those are the things, and I guess that's, everybody wants to take credit for that. Everybody does that, I guess, or thinks they do that. But traditions is that one, and I think just overall the humbleness of our people. We're not loud and boisterous and need all the attention. It's more about, coming together and appreciating one another and laughing and asking questions about, you personally, not, oh, well, do you know the playbook? Do you know what you're doing in this coverage or that coverage? And I would say I spend more time getting to know my players everywhere I've been and asking them about their day and what they like and what they don't like and what's bothering them than I do about the X's and O's. And it's the same thing with my own kids. I spend a lot more time asking and listening than I do talking. And and the greatest thing is, I think that in order to be a successful parent, in order to be a successful coach, you have to have enough humility within yourself to teach the why first, and really invest in that, and invest in teaching the why and taking your time to let people know you care, that you love them, that you're there for them, and that you respect their time. And that's something that I think our culture has taught me. Is my grandparents never rushed the process with me. My dad, my mom have never rushed it. They were never afraid to tell me they loved me, that they cared. They were never afraid to ask me and listen. And so, again, I go back to the posadas, but I think all of those things, even as we're talking about it, I remember as a little kid and then growing up into a teenager, you're the tables you were allowed to sit at changed, right? Little kids are over there, but you learned how to socialize, and of course you ate. And then now you're going to the adult table with your cousins, and then pretty soon you're out of high school, and now you're hosting one at your house. And just that process of time, but the thing that was consistent was the genuine love and excitement to be together, because you didn't know if next year, you know, people are going to be there. And so we see that now with COVID. We see it now with kids moving on, families moving on, families moving in. So just, I think in our culture, learning to appreciate every moment with each other and not having to be in the big house or taking the European vacation or the exotic vacation down to Hawaii. We're happy with just, let's go to the backyard, put on the oldies, and just hang out and talk and laugh and um, you know, drink of your choice or whatever your fancy is, but just enjoy each other, because that's going to last with you forever.
Yes, you're right. And it's funny that you said the tables, because that just took me back to my childhood, and even with my own son thinking, I mean, we go to my parents and my grandparents' house, and it's okay, you all are over there and don't even bother with us over here.
Yeah.
You've got what you need. We've served everyone, and people just sitting around the table and talking, And one of the other coaches alluded to it yesterday. Going to a restaurant may take 2.5, 3 hours if we take the entire family, because we're just going
Right.
to sit there and go ahead and just bring that coffee and bring some pan dulce or whatever it may be, chips and salsa. And it's going to take 2 to 3 hours for us to get out of there. So
Oh yeah.
just be prepared.
And you know, and I tell you what, since I've been here to Central Texas, they kind of know me now at these restaurants that I'm gonna keep asking for chips and salsa refills the whole time I'm there. And where they're used to just giving them the one at the start, but I'm gonna eat it the whole time I'm there. They're starting to warm up to the fact that that's what I do when I go there. But
Yes, that's
yeah,
awesome. Well, Coach, I want to say thank you so much for sharing just a little piece of your story, and we are honored that you joined us. It's an important piece of our heritage that we want to recognize and show future coaches, but not only that, future leaders, what it means to hire a Hispanic or a Latino, and the jobs that we are capable of doing, and the richness of our culture that we bring to every situation, and our uniqueness in the family ties that you just said, that you pointed out, are something that make us absolutely unique. That's a part of our culture, and making everyone feel welcome is something that we do very well. So thank you, Coach. I feel like I've known you forever. And just so everyone knows, Coach Torres and I, we just met.
yes, we just met.
And I look forward to seeing you hopefully at coaching school.
Yes, ma'am.
And good luck to you the rest of this season. Best of luck, and we look forward to reading more about all of the success that you're going to have at Marlin.
Right. Thank you so much for everything.